welcome you to this video session of Standard 8, Unit 20, Reaching the Age of Adolescence. Among all the stages, adolescence is a more crucial and significant features in individual's life. The adolescence age, which starts at the age of 10 and ends with the age of 19. So, you all reach this adolescence age now, children. So, let's move on to this video session.
Hello children, now Unit 6, Reaching the Age of Adolescence. In this lesson we are going to see the body changes that takes place during adolescence and the difference between the secondary sexual characters of boys and girls, the role of hormones in reproduction and reproductive phases of life in human. And last topic is a nutritional need of adolescence. Introduction. A growing up is a natural process that takes place in all living organisms. All living organisms grows up to maintain the maturity. After the maturity reaches, not only the mind maturity, the physical appearances also grows up. And this series of changes is called as development. Different phases of human developments are there. That is a developmental stages. For example, the development stages includes infancy, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, middle age and old age. The period starts about the 10 to 13 and ends with 19. It's commonly called as a teenage. Almost of y'all you could have entered this period now. In this lesson we are going to discuss the changes that takes place in you as you enter in the age of adolescence. Adolescence. The term adolescence is derived from the Latin word adolescere. A meaning is to grow or grow to maturity. During this period, the changes, that is height, weight, sex organs, muscles, mass, as well as a brain structure and functions takes place. In the physical transition marked by the onset of puberty and termination of physical growth in an individual. Puberty is a period of few years in which a rapid physical and psychological changes and physiological changes to attain the maturity level of sexual. We can predict a sequence of physical changes will take place at the age of puberty arrives to an individual. The puberty can varies one person to another person. So average onset of puberty is 10 or 11 for girls and 12 to 13 for boys. The factors like genetic and biological influence, life events, socio-economic status, nutrition, diet, and which also affects the onset progression for puberty. Hormones plays an important role in the time of puberty. The changes of hormone takes place. The sex hormones are secreted in this time of puberty. Equal male and the female. The male and the female sex glands are produced in the necessary secretion in our body. For example, for male sex gland, testis releases the testosterone and the female gland ovaries release estrogen. This is the result changes in primary and secondary sexual characters of male as well as female. Body changes at puberty. There are four important changes that occurs during puberty. Changes in body size, changes in body propagation, development of primary sex characteristic, development of secondary sex characteristic. Changes in body size. It's usually begin at the age of 10 to 12 in girls and 12 to 13 in boys, and a complete body changes which occurs in 17 to 19 in girls and 17 to 20 in boys. Both the boys and girls add around 23 centimeter to 26 centimeter in their height. In addition of the height, they also experience the increase in weight. So average weight is gained during this period of 17 to 19 kg. The next one is changes in body propagation. Certain body areas which is small and propagationally grows big. It can be seen the feet and hands. During childhood, legs grow more than the trunk. By the time of puberty, trunks also lengthens. Then primary sex characteristics. Reproduction organ of boys and girls are fully functional at the time of puberty. In boys, testes grow larger followed by the length and the size of reproductive organ is also increases. The same way in female reproductive organs also grows during this puberty. So testes and ovaries are called the pituitary sex organs of a male and female respectively. Secondary sex characteristics are physical features with distinguished from male and female. So in puberty, boys and girls becomes dissimilar in their appearances. The secondary sex characteristics are regulated by the hormones. I told you for male is testosterone and the female is estrogen. So the body is develops according to that. Estrogen and prostrogens are the female sex hormones. It will growth of muscle development, skeleton size and distribution of a body and pubic hair and stimulation of the sweat glands. Estrogen stimulates the development of the breast and external genitalia, pubic and axillary hairs and distribution of the body fat. Secondary sex characteristics of boys. The following changes takes place: hair, skin, glands, muscle and voice. Hair. The development of a primary sex character, pubic hair appears. Skin becomes ooze and pores in a 6 enlarges. Glands. Oil producing glands in the skins enlarge. Due to this, AIDS may appear on the faces. Muscle. Strength of the muscle increases, which gives a shape to our arms, legs and shoulders. Voice. During this period, voice changes takes place and voice becomes husky. The pitch drops and the volume increases, and these are the characteristics of boys in the secondary sex characteristics. This takes place. Secondary sex characteristics of girls. At the time of puberty, the changes in hips, breast, hair, skin, gland, muscle, voice. Hip will be enlargement in the pelvic bone, and breast enlargement of breast and hips develops during this time. Hair. Pubic hair appears followed by the axillary and the body hair on the limbs. Skin, it becomes a chorus and pores enlarge in the case of boys as well as girls. The gland and voice also takes place, that is changes will takes place. Voice becomes krill and voice break rare among girls. The muscles which are increases in muscles takes place, which gives a shape in the shoulder, arms and legs, and these are the secondary sex characteristics of girls. At puberty, the growth of larynx is larger in boys than at girls. You can able to see it's look like the Adam's apple. So it is the secondary sex characteristics of boy. So it is called as a throat, which we it looks like an apple, so it's called as a Adam's apple. So that the voice becomes deep and harsh. So this is mainly for a secretes in a male hormone during this adolescence. So muscle attached to the cartilage gets loosened and thickened. When the air passes of these loosened and thickened cords, the hoarse sound is produced. In girls, larynx is hardly visible from the outside. So it's become very small in size and the voice becomes pitch like So boys voice becomes very harsh and the girls voice becomes very highly pitched. Here comes the table of secondary sex organs in girls and boys. The height and weight increases is both boys and girls, and voice becomes shrill in girls and voice become very broad, or it becomes very harsh. So hair grows in arms and pubic area in girls, and boys the hair grows in arms and the pubic area, and also the facial hair also appears. In girls, hip broads and shoulder broads in boys. Breast develops and size of penis increases. So these are the difference between the girls and boys secondary sex characteristics. The role of hormones in reproduction. The primary hormones is regulate the reproduction in the steroids such as androgens, estrogen and prostrogens. So in a LH stimulates the testes to produce the androgen. In the male sex hormone, the sperms are actively produced. In man, sperm production starts in a sexual puberty and continue throughout his life. So, role of hormones in reproduction is forcibly stimulating hormones FSH. It's a female influence development of giraffian follicles and excretion of the estrogen. And a luteinizing hormone is LH in female hormone necessary for ovulation and secretion of a prostrogen, and finally maturation of the giraffian fossil. In male, the cells of testes and secretion of a testosterone, and it refers to the stimulating hormone. So estrogen is not a single hormone, it is a collection of steroid hormone. Prolactin, that is PRL, it is otherwise called as a lactogenic hormone, and this is a hormone which milk secretion during lactation. Oxytocin hormone, which causes the expulsion of a milk from the breast, and it also involves in the contraction of the smooth muscles in the uterus during the childbirth. So the last two hormones will responsible for the hormones in reproduction in female. Reproduction phases of life in man. The reproduction is more important in the human race, isn't it? An individual life during which a reproduction gamete takes place in the reproduction phase. For female, the reproduction phase will begin from 10 to 12 age, and it generally stops in 45 to 50 years. In male, it starts from 13 till lifelong. So there are some of the reproductive phases in the life of female. One is menarche. The first menstrual flow begins at puberty. It's termed as a menarche. Ovulation, it occurs approximately 14 days before the next ovarian cycle consumes. So thus, every 28 days cycles, ovulation occurs at day 14. One ovum matured and released by one of the ovary once in 28 to 30 days. So this process of releasing ovum in the ovary is called as a ovulation. Next one is pregnancy. After ovulation, the ovum reaches a fallopian tube. Fertilization takes place. The fertilized egg undergoes the development. It is implanted in the uterus. Corpus luteum continues to grow and produce a large amount of prostrogen. The next one is a menstruation. If the ovum is not fertilized, so if ovum is fertilized, it reaches to pregnancy. If the ovum is not fertilized, so it reaches to the menstruation. The menstruation occurs once in 20 to 30 days. It takes 3 to 5 days. In the case of initially menstruational cycle may irregular, it takes some time to become regular. If it remains irregular over a year, then you should consult the doctor. Menopause, it marks the end of reproductive phase in human life. I already told you 45 to 50 age, the menopause, that is menstruation cycle stops. The stoppage of menstruation is termed as a menopause. Menstruation cycle. The beginning of the menstruation cycle is the onset of puberty. We already discussed about menstruation, isn't it? So it will have the cycles of every 28 to 30 days. We will have 7 points in it when a girl reaches puberty at the age of 10. So sex hormones is released into her blood cause some ova, that is egg cells in her ovary, which becomes matured. One mature ovum is released from one ovary into the ovicut once in 28 days. So that process is called as a ovulation. Before ovulation, the inner wall of uterus becomes thick and spongy and full of tiny blood vessels. It prepares itself to receive the fertilized ovum. The ovum does not get fertilized, then the thickened and softened lining of the uterus, that is, it will be breaks. So thick soft line of uterus with the blood vessels and the dead ovums comes out of the vagina. So bleeding will be takes place, that is called as a menstruation. It usually occurs 14 days after ovulation and usually lasts for 3 to 5 days. After this menstruation is over, the uterus will build up again to make another ovum. So ovum does not get fertilized even now. The menstruation takes place again. So this cycle is repeated again and every 28 days. This menstruation cycle is controlled by the hormones. Reproductive health. The physical and mental well-being of an individual is an individual's health. WHO is defined the reproductive health as a total well-being of behavioral, emotional, physical, and social aspects of adolescence. The first one is personal hygiene, cleanliness. Have bath once or twice a day and pay the special attention to underarms, groins, and genitals. Changing the underwear daily. It should be made up of cotton and washed clean. For teenagers, increased activity of the sweat gland sometimes enhance a body odor. If cleanliness is not maintained, there are chances of having fungal, bacterial, and other infections also. The first one is personal hygienic and second one is menstrual hygiene. It specially take care of our girls. Girls should take place more care of this cleanliness during the menstruational cycle period. While using the napkins, that is disposable napkins, or tampons may reduce a chance of infection. First of all, girls should release that menstruation is a natural, okay, of regular psychological activity. How we are breathing, drinking, coughing, eating, urinating, like that. The menstruation is also nature to every girls. Girls are advised to use a sanitary napkins rather than the cloth. It should be changed frequently depending of the menstruational flow. So daily you should not keep from 8 hours to 12 hours like that. The cloth is being used repeatedly, should cleaned with the soap and hot water, dried in the sunlight for reuse. Good sleep. Sleep is a vital to be well-being of adolescence. It can even help you to come out from the stress your experience during this period. So this period timing is 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Each night is necessary. So every day 8 to 10 hours you should sleep. Most of the teenage do not get enough sleep. So simply they are watching TV, chatting with the friends, something like that. They spend time. So 8 to 10 hours the sleep is very important to our body. Physical exercise, walking, running, jumping, playing, and in a fresh air which makes feel our body fit and healthy. All the young boys and girls should walk a distance and exercise themselves and play the outdoor games. Physical activity leads a condition of better health, sound sleep, and thereby mental peace, which promotes a happiness into a day extends. So, you should play, run, jump with the fresh air. Nutritional need of adolescence. Adolescence is a stage of rapid growth and development, hence, a diet with the proper calories. So, proper diet which makes a proper health. Balanced diet is very, very important during this adolescence. So, balanced diets include protein, carbohydrate, fat, vitamins in a correct proportions. So, our Indian meals is roti or rice, dal, milk, fruits, and vegetables forms a balanced food. Minerals, calcium, iodine, iron. It takes place of following dietary components. Minerals are increase the skeleton mass. Calcium increase the intake of calcium which increase to prevent the osteoporosis in our later life. It is present in milk, milk products or other equivalents. Iodine which used to prevent the thyroid gland related diseases. Iron builds blood and rich blood fruits which are green leaf vegetable, jaggery, meat, dates, fish, chicken, citrus and Indian gooseberry whose pulse is good for the adolescents. Women should take more iron in their diet regularly to make up the loss of blood during the menstruation. Personal hygiene for adolescent. During this adolescence, you should take a more attention towards your diet, exercise, and your personal hygiene. It's a clear indicator to a man's personality. Personal hygiene starts from the head tip, ends with the toes. So here comes personal hygienic habits for adolescents to be followed. Shower or bath daily. Always wash your hands before and after lunch. Not only the lunch, meals. Keep fingernails clean and dipped. Wash your teeth, mouth before and after your meal. Avoid touching your face, nose, or mouth while preparing food. Avoid coughing, sneezing around the food and close your mouth by using a handkerchief while you cough in the public place. If you want to taste the food, use a clean spoon. Change your clothes regularly and wash them cleanly, especially your undergarments. Do not defecate in open field. Use clean toilet for defecation. If you're not well, avoid self meditation. Consult your doctor.